Welcome to today's Farm Life. I'm Doug Cunningham with Livestock Business Management Field Specialist Heather Gestner with SDSU. Heather, I called upon you because I want to talk about business plan. We're wrapping up the year. Combines are parked, basically, or getting repaired, that kind of thing. We're into that time of the year where a lot of people think, I believe that a lot of people think that producers are just basically sitting back watching TV with their feet on the coffee table kind of a thing. But this is really a busy, important time of the year, talking about your business management plan for your operation. I guess my first question is, how do we know we had a plan, or how do we know we have a good plan?
A lot of producers probably don't have a written or formal plan for their production year. So when you go through it, there isn't the check marks to mark off to say, yep, that worked, yep, that worked. But if we go through the year and we think back and we made decisions that were kind of that gut punch decision on, hey, we're out of hay. Oh my gosh, we're out of grass to graze. We really didn't have a plan that worked for us given the field conditions and the drought conditions that we had this year. So for anybody out there that had that feeling of, I need to make this change immediately, and I don't know what I'm going to do that change, had a plan that probably did not work this year.
Okay, now, I know it was an odd year. I mean, do we have to take that into consideration, or is it just in general, if this didn't work, we didn't have a good plan?
I think kind of in general, if it didn't work, we didn't have a very good plan. You know, we did have the drought, we did have a lack of water and moisture that we needed to make things grow the way we really want them to. But if you look at South Dakota, you know, a lot of times, you know, the joke is we're 1 week away from a drought anyway. So when we start looking back at historical data on weather conditions, you know, we've either got droughts or floods almost every other year kind of swinging through here. So that climate situation affects what we do almost every year, and we need to have a plan in place that identifies that so that we're ready every year, whether it's too much moisture or a year like this year when it's not enough moisture.
Now, and I think a lot of guys do have a plan, or what they would consider a plan. How do we go about evaluating that plan, or maybe even making corrections to that plan? Who would you tell them to lean on?
Well, you know, Jack Davis is my counterpart in the Mitchell office, and he works a lot with the crop side, and I kind of work a lot on the livestock side. So if you were making a lot of those decisions and different changes to your normal plan or what you thought was going to happen this year, you know, we can help you look at, you know, was your planning rate too high traditionally for the given conditions? Maybe we're looking at changes in fertilizer, and we're trying to increase our income by decreasing the expense that we put out on fertilizer. So we're doing better at some of those things that, you know, a little bit here and a little bit there really adds up in the long run for everybody.
Now, you know, there's a lot of guys that say, well, I had a plan, it was just this year. It was just that. It's easy to just rule that out. That to me would be a mistake.
That's pretty much a big mistake, because if you had a plan in place and we're still making big culling decisions because we didn't have enough feed, we really need to look at what our stocking conditions are. You know, do we have too many cows? And I know there's nobody out there that would say we have too many cows, we need to sell some. But if our stocking rates are too high and we're not adequately letting that pasture rest so that it doesn't have the peak performance growth every year, you know, maybe that's something that we look at so that we're not making big ebbs and flows in our financial statement. We have more of a consistent financial situation because we've got that better stocking rate going in. You know, we're doing cover crops to take advantage of additional moisture on the cropping side. You know, so there's a lot of things that we can look at and tweak and change to our operation so that we don't have that financial, you know, windfall some years when everything just works perfect, which doesn't really happen very often. And then we've got the really crazy, scary years when it's a drought and we have a third of our production or half of our production that we were normally expecting. So we got to really think about that long-term effect of, we had a drought this year, so we grazed our pastures down too far. So what are we going to do this spring if we don't get very much moisture this winter? You know, it all rolls together down that big hill of, we made a decision to overgraze this year. We didn't sell any cows because it'll snow and we'll have moisture, but now our pastures next year aren't going to be ready to take care of that same number of cows. So it all rolls back and forth.
And we're not trying to tell everyone that, your plan just didn't work, reevaluate and rewrite it. Maybe just adjust it. I mean, going into next year, I mean, with all of the supply chain things, I mean, there's supply issues. I mean, there's going to be, and that's going to trickle down through.
Right. Maybe your plan just needs a tweak here or there, and it's 5 cows that we make a change on that really changes our hay purchase needs and those types of things. Or instead of backgrounding calves, we're selling them at weaning time, or something like that makes those just a little bit of changes to your operation that can make the really big differences. And as you bring up the supply chain thing, if we're looking for fertilizer or we're looking for different chemicals, making sure that we're doing the soil tests again to make sure that we're putting on the right stuff, that gives us the most bang for our buck. And talking with our suppliers and saying, hey, what do I need to do to get on that list? So come this spring, we're not short and we have to really try to scrounge around and figure out what plan B is going to be there.
Would you, I guess a couple of final questions, would you suggest, given the supply thing and given some of the things that we went through this year, would you suggest maybe we jump ahead and maybe look at getting some of that stuff that we would wait normally until spring to get?
That's the $50 million question right now because with the prices skyrocketing so much, there's that give and take issue. If supply catches up by springtime, maybe prices will come back down. So we gamble and we take that part of the side that there will be supply this spring when we need it, and we can buy it cheaper, or we lock in prices now when they're historically really high and know that we have it. So there's the big question that you have to make for your operation on which gamble do I want to take. And then we have to be okay and live with that and just work at our marketing plans so that we're looking at, okay, it cost me this much to raise an acre of corn this year. To put in an acre of corn this year, I need to be forward marketing or putting a marketing plan to get that much back on that acre of corn. Whether it's even baling up the corn stalks to add in that income, but we need to get that much out of that to break even this year.
Yep, some decisions that are made this time of the year affect all of next year, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I guess one final question, who would you advise them to talk to, whether it be agronomist, your banker? I mean, a lot of people are talking to the bankers this time of the year anyway. Is that where you'd start?
It's going to take a whole team. A lot of them are putting their books together for year-end financials, getting ready to go in and talk to their bankers, renew operating notes, make some big land payments and those types of things this time of year. But your lender is going to be part of that team. Your agronomist is part of the team. Whether you've got cows or corn, you're feeding, growing corn for those cows. So talk to your agronomist, talk to your seed dealers, and make sure that you're getting the right numbers for what you're trying to do. Maybe your vet, if you're a cattle guy, is part of the situation so that we're getting a better vaccination program so that we don't have to fight health issues and those types of things. So creating that team of your specialists and your people that you work with is really going to be beneficial to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck with every dollar that you're putting out there.
Leave no doors closed or no rocks unturned. I guess that would be the best advice for this time of the year. Pick the rocks up. Yeah, that'd be a good thing. Heather Gestner with SDSU here talking about some of the year-end stuff getting into next year. Remember, you can get more information going to SDSU, correct?
Extension.sdstate.edu.
Sounds good. Very good. Remember, feel good about what you do today because what you do today is very important. Until next time, for today's Farm Life, I'm Doug Cunningham.